Hello, John Bloodworth Gentleman Crafter here, back with part 27 in the Fun with Foundation paper piecing series. This time around we're going to do an optical twist. It's basically a twist on a log cabin. Single piece pattern, which we've got here. It's all very clearly numbered. And then we've got 5 sectional pieces and then a central piece. All of the instructions are available with the download that you can get from my blog, gentlemancrafter.com. But this video serves really to show you how to put this together. So we're going to start out with the main square, which is piece A1. As always, we're working on the back of the pattern. I know this may seem strange, but it makes sense once you get into foundation paper piecing. And we're going to position the square centrally. I've included a dotted, not dashed, a dotted outline to help you line that first piece up. Now my glue stick wasn't very sticky. I tend to use these sort of temporary fabric glue sticks to help me position that first piece. Even though I will go on to pin it, it just helps keep things in place while you stitch that first line. And then positioning the next piece with right side facing down. The first piece is always right side facing up. And then, as I say, I'm going to pin that in place. If you've only just found this series of videos, there are 26 others for you to enjoy. And of course, if you'd like to, you can come and share what you make in the Facebook group that accompanies this series. Okay, so that's our first couple of pieces in position. Now we need to stitch along the line that separates those two parts. We always stitch on the dashed line, starting at the beginning and finishing at the end. Tack stitch or reverse stitch at the beginning and end to secure that stitching in place. And of course use a very short stitch spacing. This will help you tear the paper away after you've finished stitching your project together. Trim your threads as you work, helps things stay tidy and neat. Make sure your snips are sharp. Mine didn't seem to want to work today. Snippety snippety. And then we're going to fold back that first piece after we unpin it. And I'm choosing to press with an iron here, but you can just use a finger presser if you've not got easy access to your iron. A smaller travel iron size is probably easier for this, but I'm just using a regular household iron. That's me just using the finger presser. Okay, so we're working in pairs and opposites. So we've already got the first of the red pair in place. Now we're going to stitch the opposite piece of that pair in place. Does that even make sense? I hope visually it makes sense. Whether the words made any sense or not, I don't know. So we're stitching along the line again that separates those two pieces. All the same stuff as before, short stitch spacing, tack or reverse at the start and finish, and just make sure you are on that dashed line, not either side of it. Does make a big difference overall. Trimming threads, snip snip. So this is the first pair in the first colour. The second pair that will work is in our second colour. And then the next round will be in our third and fourth colour, again in pairs. You'll see as I work through this. So I've basically matched up the pattern here but changed the colours. What colours and patterns you choose is entirely up to you, entirely up to whatever you've got available in your stash. Generally a cotton is best for foundation paper piecing because you've got a lot of bulk going on. If you've been enjoying this series and would like any particular patterns to be covered, please feel free to mention those wherever you're watching this video, whether that's on YouTube or on the website. As I said, we're just building a library as we work through this series of different patches or blocks that we can then combine into projects of the same block or projects using all different blocks. Again, something for you to decide later on once you've worked through them. I think this is actually one of my favourite blocks so far. If you've got a particular favourite, do let me know. And the blocks for this month are going to be a bit random. So far we've had quite a themed selection with stars and different block types, but we're now I'm trying to introduce some that will be variations on what we've already done, but also then potentially work in some different skills going forward. So we're pinning that second piece of the second pair, stitching along the line that separates those. And then, as ever, snipping those threads. Folding back and pressing in place. So that's the first round of pairs done. Next up, we reach for the second pattern piece, which is D. And we're going to be working again in opposites. And what you're looking for on the next one is that you match up the colour with the previous round. And it might be worth you just double checking using a piece of card and your add a quarter ruler that you've got nice straight edges to position the next pieces against. This will help get everything lined up perfectly. So basically putting down a piece of card, folding back against the edge where we've just stitched, and then using a rotary trimmer with the add a quarter ruler to trim back. As you can see, there wasn't much to get rid of, but this could make a difference in trying to line up the next pieces. It also gets rid of any dog ears or little pointy bits that might add bulk to future stitch lines. I have created the pattern pieces or the templates to actually fit, but depending on how you stitch and how you position, there might be just a little bit for you to trim off. There we go, much neater. And you can see we've got nice straight edges to position the next pieces against now. And the templates also help you cut the fabric so that you've got alignment positions. So the flat edges should match up with other flat edges. But as you can see, it should fit entirely across where we've just trimmed. We're now stitching along the line that separates those two pieces. I'm not necessarily stating the numbers, I just want to make sure that you know where I'm stitching, because there's a lot of numbers and letters going on, so it's a lot to remember. It's probably easier just to do, because then you can see what's on the pattern. As we've done before, taking the pin out, folding back and pressing in place. And then we're going to flip that pattern and work next against the other red piece, the other red pear piece. Goodness, can't think of the words here. So again, that goes along that raw edge. Pin that in place and stitch. If you've been following this series so far, do let me know what you think. Are the patterns too challenging, too easy? I'm sure there's a variety of different skill levels working through these, but it's always good to know a little bit of feedback, because then I can tailor the future content. I haven't really touched on animals much yet. I've got a couple coming up this month, but if there's any animals in particular you fancy seeing, let me know. Folding back and pressing. So that second round, third colour. And now we come on to our fourth colour. So again, I've basically followed the colour itself, but I've just got a different pattern. If you've got, say for example, a light red and a dark red, you could use those, or really any colour, but a light and a dark version. Use those as, you know, colours 1 and 2, or and then mix that up with another colour. Basically, you're aiming for two colourways, but 4 variations. Hope that makes sense. You'll probably see you probably saw what I meant by the printed sheet earlier, and you will definitely see what I mean when we come to show the finished result. To be honest, you could get away with 4 entirely different colours. You've just got to pay attention to where you're putting them on the pattern. Okay, that's that one in place. Folding back and pressing. And then the final one for this round is the last piece in this size. Now when you start getting multiples on, you'll see that there's that the pieces don't fit along the entire line, but you'll be lining them up with the last piece on the previous row, if that makes sense. Now once I've stitched and pressed this one, I'm not going to show you any more, but basically what you'll do is repeat that 2 row 4 colour pairs type configuration all the way through to the end. Keep trimming your threads and keep trimming back the seam allowance with your add a quarter ruler. Stay neat and tidy as you go. Okay, so there's the first 2 rows. Like I say, you just repeat that all the way around until you've covered all of the pieces, like this. And then unpin the last section and press that piece back. Your final pieces should reach up to the outside solid line. If they don't, but they go over the dashed line, that's fine. That'll just mean they're trapped in the seam allowance, which is fine. So you can see how those two colours and four colourways kind of work to create almost like windmill arms. The final task is to basically trim everything back to the solid outline of the block. You can use a rotary cutter and a ruler or just a pair of scissors. As long as they're neat and straight, nobody's going to know. One more to do and then we will be done. Okay, there's block 27 done. The optical twist. I hope you enjoy making yours and will come share what you make. Thanks for watching.